Merry Christmas, Universus gamers. I hope you have Attack on Titan booster displays under your Christmas tree, Chrome Rares in your stockings. Today, I'm going to do a 12 Days of Christmas kind of knockoff here. We're going to switch it up and do top 12 characters in Universus. In January, we're going to have all of our nationals, and these 12 characters, these are the ones that you need to be testing as or testing against. You must be prepared for them if you want to compete and do well at those nationals tournaments. Okay, let's kick us off. On the first day of Christmas, well, I guess we're going opposite. We're going to start from top, from the bottom to the top. So on the 12th, I guess we just won't follow the song. Okay, coming in at number 12. Get rid of the Christmas analogy. Izuku Midoriya on the move, the latest Midoriya. This is, I think, going to be a more represented at nationals than expected, simply because Deku is so popular. This is the last My Hero product to be made in Universus, at least for the foreseeable future, from what we've seen for the 2025 roadmap. This character jumps out to me as very good. There's tons of different ways to play him. You can play I've been playing this water list that kind of just leans into the defense of transforming and taking an attack to 0 and drawing a card. It's like I get to play this very defensive water 7-hander. I can stack things on freezer burn when I want to, and stack all the 3/3s and then cancel everything with freezer burn. You can play like Fajin Flurry on life. I did a deck profile on that before I stopped making videos here a couple months ago. There's a lot of different ways to protect Fajin Flurry. You get to snap off like 6 or 7 momentum. You can play like a Void one-punch deck. There's tons of different ways to play this character. You can go like the Vestige route. I'm not sure he's super well positioned in the meta right now. We have Godzilla being very popular, who just obliterates your stage, and then you have to start over, and he's kind of very dependent on his stage for his stats here. The response is not enough to stop Bertolt upon his transformation from just killing you. He's still going to get the benefit of the draw. He's still going to get to remove his attack. So I'm not sure he's well positioned in the meta right now, but he's popular. I think he's very good. We've seen this character played quite a bit in major events, but we haven't seen results come. I wouldn't surprise me if somebody puts up results at Nationals with Midoriya. Okay, at number 11, I have King Ghidorah. And King Ghidorah, in my last couple tier lists that I did, he was more like top 3, top 5. So him being at number 11 is actually a pretty decent slide. I don't think he's well positioned at the moment. I think King Ghidorah is a pretty slow and steady type character that can really crack back on backswings. But I think that in this meta right now, you really want to be able to output massive damage early. We have a lot of kind of like damage sponge characters at the moment that are very powerful. One of the best ways to defeat Bertolt's living warrior or living weapon. I always say the wrong one, and then everybody makes fun of me in the comments. Let's just call him LW. The Bertolt 2. I don't think the 3 heads is enough to stop Bertolt 2. I don't think we have the damage output that we have early. Now listen, still selectively playing from your discard is a broken ability. Having 3 heads and this damage sponge character is very broken. We still get true 100% Unleashed, which, can just block a determined advance. Very common attack in the meta. Can just block like a Fajin Flurry. We were just talking about Midoriya. An Armor of the Wolf from an Amajiki. So King Ghidorah is still very good. It's hard for me to leave him out of the top 12, but I don't think he's as well positioned now as he was in the past. We did lose Risky Encounter with the ban list. I don't think he got a lot of support. You got like that 3-diff Void Foundation that blank skips and attacks enhanced step from the lower decks. Challenger series, we got like Greater Goal, I guess, on the death symbol. You can pair Ripper Arrives with like Tri-Gravity Beam for this hand ripping strategy. So I don't know. He got some stuff, but not as much as other characters. I'm probably going on too long at this point. Top 10. First character in my top 10. And this is another character that slid a little bit. Toga 3. Toga 3 was in my top 5. One of the big things about Toga 3 is that Chaos, Death, and Life have all been supported in Attack on Titan. And Attack on Titan has been very heavy on weapon support, which means that Toga 3's gotten a lot of cool new toys. So it's hard for me to say that she's not top 10. The problem is that I feel like the other characters in this top 12 that I'm doing here, they're all more broken and unfair than Toga. Toga still feels more fair than them. I do think that if you want to play a stun character, you should probably go Toga and not Paul. And even though Attack on Titan hasn't given us like attacks that do things in your momentum, there's enough support already there, like Deception Dagger, Piercing Needle. What's the other big ones? There's one more that I'm missing here that I can't remember. Oh, Black Abyss. Black Abyss. That's it. Okay. Black Abyss. Yeah. We still have enough support of attacks that are very, very solid. And then you can just pair it with these weapon things that came out in Attack on Titan. I still think Toga 3 deserves a spot here. This is going to be a pretty popular character. Like if we're thinking about, which of these characters are actually going to see representation at Nats, you're always going to have 4 to 5 Toga players, bare minimum. Wouldn't shock me if Toga made up, 3 to 5% of the meta. I would say King Ghidorah is probably going to go down in representation a little bit. And again, Midoriya, I think, will have a surprisingly high percentage of representation simply for being popular. Okay, coming in at number 9, I have a new character from Attack on Titan 2, Reiner Braun Warrior, or Reiner 2, whichever you'd like to call him. He's also this damage sponge character. He's kind of like King Ghidorah. He's kind of like Endeavor 3. And Endeavor 3 is still our current reigning world champion character, although I think characters like Ymir and Reiner Braun are just better versions of Endeavor 3. This guy mills like crazy. You're getting damage for each different card type that you mill. Once you mill once, you're getting damage and speed. So after you mill, you're getting like +2/+2, +3/+3, +4/+4 sometimes on your attacks. This guy loves Freezer Burn, and Freezer Burn's probably my favorite attack in the game, probably the most underrated attack in the game, simply being able to cancel everything. I love canceling a last second rescue from Recovery Girl. When you transform, you're picking up your momentum into your hand. You can make yourself transform with like defeating the Colossus Titan to lose that health that you needed. He plays quick to act, the 0 difficulty foundation on fire that says when you're at less than half health, everything's getting a speed. He plays that really well since he's only 17 health. It's not that hard to find yourself at like 8 or 7 health. So he plays that pretty well. Yeah, you're grabbing your momentum back to your hand. I do wish that his enhance on his front side said speed, and then you unlock the damage after you mill. That way you can kind of like increase your momentum. So you do have to overcome, like, how am I going to get momentum for when I transform? And you have to overcome that you are typically playing a lower foundation ratio than normal to make his enhances as good as they can possibly be. When he transforms, everything's getting -5 damage. Yeah, this guy's just a 50 health character that very soon is adding +2/+2, +3/+3 to all their moves. And he gets to add attacks back to his hand. It's very, very difficult for this guy to be bad. Coming in at number 8, Recovery Girl. Speaking of last second rescue, as soon as that card got revealed, everybody immediately thought of Recovery Girl, that, oh my gosh, you can just destroy it, heal back, grab it, build it again, destroy it, heal back. As long as you have momentum and the damage of the attack is not lethal, you can just always go right back to normal with last second rescue. Recovery Girl's still been very good. If you have a referee jury in hand, you can just build in your struggling with studies to keep adding your jury back to your hand. We've seen building in So Manly to stuff your rival's card pool. Destroying 2 foundations to gain throw. There's a certain like inevitability with Recovery Girl, and Recovery Girl just wipes the floor with all these string characters. These string characters that aren't capable of outputting massive damage on singular attacks, they just cannot punch through a Recovery Girl, and Recovery Girl eventually takes you down. You need to have a way to be able to say, here's my 32 damage attack, and I'll negate your interaction on it. Coming in at number 7, Ymir. Speaking of better Endeavor 3, like Reiner Braun Warrior, Ymir, once she transforms, everything's getting 2 speed, and then your damage very quickly becomes +5, +10, +15 damage. Ymir is kind of a glass cannon, though, so we haven't seen a lot of results with Ymir quite yet. How to make her work on offense is pretty clear. You have Briefer Sprite, Immortal Shapeshifter, all sorts of ways to gain health. Now, Ymir did get Defeating the Colossus Titan, which is a huge get for Ymir. It means that you can play a very scary move as your first attack. And that's a big thing because Ymir is building up, right? So typically, if you're trying to just survive that extra turn you need to win against Ymir, hey, I'll take the early attacks, I'll block the later attacks once you're adding massive damage on them. But with Defeating the Colossus Titan, you say, hey, catch, it's an 11 damage move. I'm going to make this thing also super, super fast. It's also going to be, I forgot how the speed on Defeating Colossus Titan works, but just the 6 minimum plus the 2 is at least 8, and I think you can get it higher. It also has Powerful on it, so you can make this, and it loses you health, which means that you have more room to gain that health back. It's doing everything that Ymir wants. I think it was a very, very big grab for Ymir. Also, Briefer Sprite coming in from Attack on Titan 2. But Ymir is just a glass cannon. The front side is not very good. Like, right, if we don't consider the Jaw Titan side, lose 1 health for +2 damage, form, build 1. Those are fine, but much, much worse than other characters. Once you transform, Jaw Titan is almost begging you to overextend. Because your damage gets bigger as you go on in your turn, it's tempting to overextend when after 2 or 3 attacks, you might realize, wait a second, I don't have it this turn, I need to pull back. But your character is like begging you to keep going. And then that -3 speed is not going to be enough to save you for the backswing. So Ymir at, I think, what is this, number 7? Number 6, top half of our top 12. I've got Amajiki. Amajiki is, again, he's kind of one of these damage sponge characters. This guy plays like he's a 40 health character by getting that minus damage on face. We can very, very quickly stockpile a ton of momentum. I like playing the more aggressive City Rampage variant where we're playing like all of his good 5 diffs. Deception Dagger, Black Abyss, Armor of the Wolf, Armor of the Ape, splash in a couple Walk the Dogs. This guy can just obliterate you on turn 2 or turn 3. Yeah, he can make this huge Armor of the Wolf and kind of go over the top on these damage sponge characters, right? If we want to kill Bertolt early, if we want to be able to kill a Recovery Girl, kill a Reiner, then we need these massive damage moves, and Amajiki supplies that and then some. He is a little susceptible on like turn 2 to getting popped before he gets his momentum built up. There is a card out there, Waylay, that just kind of destroys Amajiki. Luckily, though, nobody's playing Waylay. Order characters are kind of not even on my top 12 list, so you don't need to worry about that too much. I still think that Amajiki is very, very good. And coming in at number 5, we have from My Hero Academia Girl Power, Pony. I think you could also lump in Mikasa from Battle for Humanity. Both of these characters are air and fire characters that are looking to play a million attacks on turn 2, turn 3. They're clearing their card pool. They're drawing their entire deck. They're very similar, actually, to Bertolt 2, except they're faster than Bertolt 2. This is happening on turn 2, turn 3, and not on turn 4, turn 5 after some transformation. Now, these attacks aren't hitting as hard, but both of these characters are adding speed. So very, very similar. Why do I have Pony in my top 12 and not Mikasa? Well, Pony is a little more consistent to me and is a little bit more forgiving. Because we have that -2 speed on face, we can survive these turns so that we can backswing them on our turn. We can kind of buy that extra turn that maybe Mikasa doesn't get. But Mikasa got like Connie's Sword Strike and a lot of very, very strong weapons from Attack on Titan 2. If I was doing a top 25, she would be in my top 25. But since this is a top 12, we've got Pony here at number 5. Pony benefited quite a bit from Lethal Slash, the 2-check from Origins of Power. It says draw a card and remove it after it resolves. You can use that with like Spirit Slash, which is also building when you clear it. You're clearing things like crazy with Pony. You have all of these cards that draw when you discard them. You can use things like seizing the advantage to build up your stage quickly and flip your rival stage. I kind of floated the idea, what was this, a couple weeks ago, of like Deadbolt Pony. Like, what if we played Deadbolt and then we cleared it with Pony? I don't know. It's probably too cute and not actually real. But Pony is very, very strong at the moment. I think that at some point in the future, Feral Shriek will probably get banned to pay the cost of the sins and atrocities that Pony is going to commit at Nationals. You must be prepared. How are you going to survive against these aggressive air, fire, 7-hand size characters? Okay, number 4, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. While he's number 4 on my power level scale, I actually think that Godzilla will be the most represented character at Nationals. He has a very good matchup into Bertolt. Since we're adding 3 damage to everything, we can kill Bertolt early. We can also wipe away his stage so that he takes longer to transform. That gives Godzilla 2 pretty solid turns of attacking into Bertolt, 1 early and 1 after you use your first form. All of those things are getting massive damage. Bertolt's primary defense is subtracting damage. So if Bertolt is the boogeyman of the format, which for most everybody he is, then Godzilla makes a very good counter to Bert. Also, Godzilla was already very popular. Beginners love playing Godzilla. He's adding 3 damage to all of your moves. Everything feels big. I mean, you feel, and that's one of the great things about this card game, is you feel like you're Godzilla when you're playing Godzilla, and your rival feels like they're playing against Godzilla. It's like, oh my gosh, all of these attacks are huge. How do I destroy this massive monster? And then he wipes away my stage just when I get going. This guy really also benefited from getting Determined Advance in Attack on Titan. That's what kind of Determined Advance, I think, is what took this character from, where did I have him in my last tier list? Like at 15? I feel like Determined Advance is what took this character from top 15 to top 5. This is a way I can battle against the Rodans of the world, right? Because while Godzilla's adding this damage, everything is so blockable. But Determined Advance gets me momentum so that it's basically like a 4 diff because I can add +2 to my check for my next thing by using the momentum. Or, Rodans have to block it at a base 6 speed. It also has EX3, so I can use it as this finisher late in the game, and that momentum I snapped can immediately be used for an extra 3 speed. Maybe we have tons of other momentum, and we can just EX it to the moon and add a couple, maybe 9 damage is just what you needed in that moment. Determined Advance is everything to this guy. Also, from the solo leveling challenger decks, we got Unfazed, this 6 diff that is an echo move, and if you block it, all of my checks are getting +1, and then we can echo it. So if you block it twice, all of Godzilla's checks are getting +2. Now Godzilla's just going to pass everything no matter what. Godzilla gets the massive benefit of being on the Chaos symbol. Chaos is just, it's probably just the strongest symbol in Universus at the moment. Lots of defensive and offensive tech pieces. So yeah, Godzilla, I wouldn't surprise me if Godzilla is 15% of Nationals. I think he'll be at least 10%, honestly. He will be the most represented character. You heard it here first. Going into, oops, I went backwards. And our top 3 is better Godzilla, but less popular Godzilla. We have Mimic. Mimic also is going to be playing Determined Advance on the Chaos symbol, but Mimic also gets massive damage. We get the benefit of like Knott's Flask. When you commit Knott's Flask, it's +5 damage with his response. Mimic is 25 health instead of 34 health, but Mimic is an 8-hander almost every turn cycle, right? On offense and on defense, whenever you check an asset, you go get to pick up something of your choice. So Mimic gets to play a lower attack ratio than other decks. We saw a City Rampage Mimic actually win my webcam championship, the $3,000 webcam championship earlier this month, and second place was, you guessed it, another Mimic. Mimic also can be defensive, using like vertical maneuvering to cash in on all that momentum to be able to block everything, and then we can damage reduce the things that we're not blocking. We can go and grab Cheerful Uppercut. On offense, we saw Barlow putting in a lot of work with like ultra compressed weights to say, hey, you cannot kick my Determined Advance out of the card pool, and now I'm going to kill you with it. So you cannot use Cape, you cannot use Genkai's Guidance. On defense, it was very good against the like air 7-handers, Mikasa and Pony, to say like you can't clear that card anymore. You're going to have to play on progressive early. Mimic gets Cape of No Return. You get just vertical maneuvering equipment. You can be very defensive with, but then also when you commit it for +2 damage, Mimic makes it +4 damage. So when Mimic's ready to kill you, they can typically turn a lot of their assets sideways and add like 15, 20 damage to something. They have a very good Deadlock piece and Colossal Detonation. So like I said, he's just better Godzilla. Godzilla gets that first form, but you'd be surprised how passable Detonation is for these Mimics. So if you build up this huge stage to defend against Mimic, they'll use Detonation. They'll say, destroy all foundations. Oh, wait, my assets are foundations, but they don't get destroyed. And then they just completely take over the game. When Mimic successfully plays a Detonation, it's just over. That is game over. It's the ultimate Deadlock piece for Mimic. So Mimic got tons of support here recently. Soup kind of unlocked this character. I play it, I immediately build it down, and now I can use it to pass checks for my turn 1 builds. I can commit it for +3 damage and to gain a health. Trigger is just an unfair asset that counts as like 3 foundations over the course of a turn. It's like nice try to some extent. Anyway, Mimic is here at number 3. I think he's stronger than Godzilla. I think the assets is a really good way to play against Bertolt too. You have enough damage output to kill him early. The assets don't get destroyed from Bertolt 2's transformation. So I think he plays really well into that matchup. Again, he gets Determined Advance for like the Rodan matchup and vertical maneuvering equipment. I think he's just better Godzilla, but he's less popular. So, I think the sharps are going to be on Mimic. I think Mimic will still see like a 5% representation rate. And the people that are playing Mimic are going to be very, very good players. At number 2, we have the boogeyman of the format. It is Bertolt Hoover. He's the Grinch. He's here to steal all of your toys, make sure you have a terrible time at Nationals, and just wipe the floor with you. He gets to take -2 damage off on everything, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. So he's constantly finding what he needs on his human side. He's discarding things that say when they hit the discard pile, it's another -2 damage. So this guy plays as like this 50 health character. As soon as he gets to 9 foundations, he's going to transform. And when he transforms, you're dead. 90% of the time on transformation, you're just dead. It doesn't matter how much interaction you have. You're dead. He's going to just play out every attack that he draws. Everything draws him more. If he plays an attack that draws, then he draws 2 cards that on that one, He gets to remove like a tray size on the echoed copy. So play the tray size, echo the tray size, then remove it. Now that also drew him 2 cards. He can like speed transform very, very quickly. You get things like Weapon Clash. If you can unflip Weapon Clash, then you can build again off of Weapon Clash. You can use like Wild to find another foundation. You can use like Always Cool to build 2 foundations. You can use like Enormous Axe to destroy it. One of my favorite plays is like Attack Titan emerges, destroy Enormous Axe, build something with the Enormous Axe, and then build in a Weapon Clash, and then use the Weapon Clash to build another thing. You can speed transform with Colossus Swat. The downside to doing that, though, is now you're transforming on your turn, which does give your rival a chance to like kill you without getting the top enhance of the human side. Typically, Bert does want to transform on his opponent's turn. You need to be very careful about building to 9 against this guy. And if you know he's going to transform on your turn, then you might as well build some foundations in your card pool, because then you get to keep 3 and then build those down. He does leave himself open if he's speed transforming on his turn with the SWAT strategy, and I've seen that be a very popular strategy. Anyway, this guy is the Grinch. Personally, I don't think he's actually going to see that much representation at Nats. That might be a pretty hot take, but I don't think he's very fun to play. I think he's very format warping, and I think he's very not fun to play. He's not fun to play as, he's not fun to play against. I really wish they would have rotted this guy to oblivion. I hate him. Okay, this is maybe I'm going a little too much. I I actually don't think he's going to see that much representation, though, because I think people would just rather play Godzilla. If Godzilla has a good matchup into Bertolt and Godzilla is fun, Godzilla plays pretty interactive games of Universus, and I get to play this super cool big monster guy. Why would I play Bert? So I think the representation is going to go into the Godzillas, and Bertolt will actually see a lower than expected representation, but you still need to have your Bertolt strategy. If you cannot win against Bertolt, you might not want to bring your deck to Nationals. Okay, that is Bertolt. Let's go on. My number one character. On Christmas Day in 2024, my number one ranked character is Rodan. And it's been Rodan for a long time. I have a very difficult time saying that this character is not number one. In fact, someone the other day, I think it was Ross, tallied up like all the top cuts since the Godzilla Challenger decks were released. And Rodan was like the number one character to make top cuts at major events. We haven't had Rodan actually take down a massive event quite yet, but they've been very consistent in top cutting, and sharp players are typically playing Rodan. He's the best speed manipulation 7-hander there is in the game. This guy just kills string decks. He's going to be blocking everything. You like the other characters, like the damage sponge characters, right? Also kill string decks because they just heal back and they can reduce things like Recovery Girl, right? This character is the opposite. You have to go over the top in speed. So this is one of the reasons I like Amajiki so much is Armor of the Wolf can go over the top on speed 2 or 3 times over. You can Rodan, make it blockable, just EX it up. If you take it back down again with a barrier shield, I'll put in Krakens, right? I'll unflip those Krakens and put them again on Black Abyss for speed, unflip those and give it more speed. Like I can typically get it back up to unblockable 2 times over. Determined Advance, very good against this character. So you need to go over the top. In terms of speed against Rodan. Rodan gets to cheat the game, gets to look at the top, plus X or minus X speed. You can play very aggressive with like the all version, the all mids Rodan. You can play very defensive with like Void Rodan. I played a Mill Rodan in Atlanta. I made a deck profile on it. I went 5-2-1. I still think I should have top cut Atlanta, but that's okay. I was just a little bit off. And that Mill deck, it didn't have the best matchup into Smiling Titan. I tried to Smiling Titan proof it as much as possible because Smiling Titan was the boogeyman of the format, similar to how Bertolt is now. I tried to Smiling Titan proof it, but now Smiling Titan got eroded and is no longer going to see heavy representation at Nationals. So I think that Mill Rodan is actually better positioned now than it was in Atlanta, and it got some pretty interesting tools to be using. So that's a deck that I'm considering right now for Nationals, just bringing back. And if you have a character that is so good defensively that you have mill strategies becoming viable, then that's a problem. I think this character is a problem. I think he's a format gatekeeper. Rodan and Bertolt right now, to me, are the top characters. I would put Rodan above Bertolt. I think he's a little more versatile. And there's just more ways to play him. He's more interesting. I find him more fun, and that makes me a little more biased. Whenever I play as Rodan, I have a good time playing the game, right? I've played a lot of Bertolt. I don't have a good time playing the game when I play as him. I have a good time as Rodan. That's the difference to me. So maybe a little bit of my bias coming in. I just don't want to put Bert at number 1. I want to put Rodan. So there you go. These are my top 12 characters in Universus. These are the ones that you need to be testing against for Nationals. If you don't have time to test against all 12, at least test against these top 5. How are you going to survive Pony and Godzilla? Right? They play pretty differently. Pony's going to play a million attacks and clear the card pool and draw everything. Godzilla's just slamming down these huge damage moves. Do you have asset hate for Mimic? This is one of the reasons that Chimera Kraken is so big right now is it gives decks asset hate. Hacker extraordinaire, right? You've got to have something. how are you going to kill a Bertolt before he transforms? And if he does transform, does your deck have even a prayer of surviving? How are you going to go over the top on Rodan with speed? Now, it's very difficult to find a deck that just answers all of those questions. And I do think that there's a pretty clear common denominator when we look at these 12 characters, and that's damage sponge characters. King Ghidorah, Reiner, Recovery Girl, Bert, to some extent Mimic, to some extent Amajiki, to some extent just Godzilla having 34 health. I think the most important question to answer going into Nationals is not how do I survive? It's how do I kill? How do I kill a Bertolt? How does my deck output 60 damage early on in the game? And if you can't answer that question, you're probably not going to be succeeding at Nationals. I say that, and then I just talked about a Mill Rodan deck where the only thing you're asking is how do I survive? But Rodan's the only character that can actually make that happen, right? Like, I just want to survive for forever. Anyway, when you look at these 12 characters, I think you're seeing, and this is like maybe a hot take of mine, and maybe it could be a whole video, but I've believed it for a while now, is that competitive Universus and casual Universus have separated. They are completely separated. These 12 characters are not fair characters. Maybe Toga is fair. Take Toga out. But other than that, these are not fair characters. They're far and away better than the characters below them. And obviously, I know I'm going to get a lot of comments. How could you leave so-and-so, right? Where's Irwin in your top 12? Where is Mikasa? Where's Reiner 1? You know, like, I know I'm going to get a lot of comments on where is so-and-so. But I had to, have to make cuts. This is just the top 12. But I think that these top 12 have truly separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Yeah, I think competitive universe is just different from casual. I do not think it's the case that you can take a B tier character and win a major event anymore. That used to be the case, that if you put a lot of time into a B tier character that you could win a major event with them. I don't think that's the case these days. I think that with us getting thousands of cards in the standard format card pool with how much product has been put out by UVS Games this year, we have 200 plus characters. I think there's just some pretty clear strategies and some pretty clear characters that have broken away. That said, it's a pretty healthy meta at the top, right? Like, I think any of these 12 could win Nationals. And there's a lot of checks and balances here, right? Like, okay, Bertolt's not fair. But Godzilla is a pretty heavy check on Bertolt. So I think we have checks and balances in this meta. It's just that competitive Universus and casual Universus have separated, in my opinion. So yeah, I think you need to be asking yourself, how do I kill these characters? How am I going to output massive damage early going into Nationals? So there you go. That was 12 days of Universus. Rodan at number 1, Bertolt number 2, Mimic, Godzilla, Pony. That's my top 5. Those are the characters I fully expect to win Nationals. Then we got Amajiki, Ymir, Recovery Girl, Reiner Warrior, Toga 3, Ghidorah, and Midoriya also making the cut in my top 12. By the way, guys, before I let you go, my friend Sam Tate, otherwise known as Ace Maneuvers on YouTube, go check out his content. It's some of the best content that's out there. He's hosting a webcam event on January 4th called Webcam Warriors. We currently have 19 people signed up, but he can handle up to 64 of us signing up. So let's fill this event up. It's going to be awesome. The more people sign up, the better the prizing gets. Everybody's going to be, there's going to be like critical role boxes as prizing, cash prizing. I saw that my friend Marvin with Undefeated at Locals, also some awesome content. Marvin is probably the nicest person, one of the top 12 nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. He is donating 3 boxes of Critical Role to this event. So very cool community event happening here with Webcam Warriors. I encourage you to come and join in. And as a bonus, inspired by Marvin's generosity, I will also be doing some donations to players here. Anybody who beats me in this event, I will buy you a Solo Leveling Challenger Series deck. I will, when does Solo Leveling come out? I think it comes out like the week after or maybe it's either this same weekend or the week after or the next week after. I know it's going to be legal for U.S. nationals, but I'm not sure the weekend in January. But if you beat me in this event, I will buy you or pre-order you a deck of solo leveling. Right now, I'm leaning towards playing like this 4-check tribal Neji raid deck. I consider this event like my chance to play like a upper tier casual character before I go into, just competitive UVS for nationals and I play one of these top 12. Or who knows, maybe this webcam event would be a really good opportunity for me to test for nationals. Either way, come and join. Let's support webcam. Let's show UVS games that webcam is something that we want to see happen in an official capacity again. Well, that's going to do it for me. Merry Christmas, guys. It's been an awesome year of Universus. I'm looking forward to 2025. I'm going to have a video out for New Year's Eve, I'm thinking, where I do a 2024 in review of my competitive year. I go through every single competitive event I played in. What was the deck list? How did I do? What were the number of players? How many championship points did I earn? And what am I at? It's going to be a pretty fun time to look back and realize, like, wow, I played like 20 different competitive decks. Just a good time to celebrate. Thought you guys might be at least casually interested in something like that. But I'll see you guys next time. If I don't see you before New Year's, it was a great 2020-24. Oh my gosh, I just said 2020-24. I just ruined my outro here. That's all right, guys. I'll see you later.